Some stories don't end, they unfold. Arctic Frost began as a leak, a stack of subpoenas, a whisper of coordination, a trail of paperwork, and it was meant to stay buried. But 5 parts later, it's something more. It's a recording of governments learn to investigate ideas by investigating people. In part one, we followed the money. In part two, we exposed the inner circle. Now, in part three, we caught the lawyers in the net. And in our last part, part four, we hit the PACs and the power brokers. And now, in this final chapter, we step back and see the entire web. What it means, what it proves, and what comes next. This is Arctic Frost Exposed, part 5, the bigger picture. Now, what we have to understand is that Arctic Frost was it's never about January 6th. That was the excuse, not the mention. Not the mention. Listen, its real purpose was to chart a template for how to neutralize a political movement without outlawing it. You don't silence voices anymore, you isolate them. You don't outlaw speech, you overregulate it. You don't need arrest leaders. You drain their lawyers, scare their donors, and strangle their funding until they fade away voluntarily. And that is what Arctic Frost achieved. Proof that processes can replace force. And when processes becomes punishment, democracy stops being voluntary. Listen, no tanks, no soldiers, no smoke, just subpoenas. But the effect was the same. One faction removed from power, the other protected by red tape labeled as integrity. It was a paper coup, a revolution carried out by clerks instead of colonels. And like every revolution, it justified itself in the language of safety. We're protecting democracy. We're defending the norms, ensuring transparency. Pretty words, printed on ugly actions. My friends, that's how republics die in the 21st century. Not by rebellion, but by bureaucracy. Folks, this report is brought to us by our friends at 7 Weeks Coffee. Pro-life, pro-American, and proudly unfiltered. Every bag supports pregnancy centers around the nation and with real compassion. Strong coffee and strong values. So make it out to 7weekscoffee.com and use the promo code FightbackMedia and stand for life in every single sip. Now, Arctic Frost was a lab experiment in behavioral control. The lesson it taught DC was very simple. It, you don't need to fear voters if you can fear, you can put fear at the voters' advocates. You can make them scared. Take one lawyer, one donor, one media figure, and you've frozen 1,000 others. That is efficiency. That's government as an algorithm. And when the algorithm's goal is compliance, the variables are you. The state learned to weaponize uncertainty. Not knowing if you're being watched makes you easier to manage than proof that you are. Arctic Frost left behind more than subpoenas. It left behind a feeling, that quiet dread every time someone hits send on an email. Every pause before donating, every attorney wondering if a client is worth the risk. That's the real victory of lawfare. The culture of fear that follows long after the hearings end. Fear that doesn't announce itself. It whispers and it works. By the end of 2025, Arctic Frost had created its own economy. Auditors, consultants, compliance officers, an entire cottage industry feeding off endless investigations. They don't want closure. They want continuity. The scandal isn't the misuse of power. The scandal is the business model. Each new decision, a new oversight project. Each new oversight project, a new budget. The swamp doesn't drain, it diversifies. All right. Again, today's show is brought to you by our folks at Mammoth Marketplace, the American alternative to big tech retail. Patriot-owned, family-run, and censorship-free. Shop smart. Shop local. Shop marathonmarketplace.com, because your dollar should defend your values. All right. Arctic Frost exposed something deeper. Both parties feed off the same bureaucracy. One weaponizes it, the other fundraises off of it as a victim. And the people, well, we get the bill. Every integrity task force, every oversight reform, every new accountability board, all built with your tax dollars to investigate your opinions. You're paying for your own surveillance. In a functioning democracy, government fears the public. In ours, the people fear the paperwork. Now, while this was going on, other nations watched. Canada copied the model to freeze the truckers' accounts. You remember the truckers? Canada copied that same model to freeze the accounts of the truckers, so they didn't have fuel, so they had to stop where they were. It basically killed the movement. Britain used similar tactics on dissenting journalists. And the EU is drafting, quote, financial transparency, end quote, laws that read like Arctic Frost transcribed into 5 languages. America exported a new kind of authoritarianism, one that smiles when it seizes. That's how empires fade, not by losing wars, but by teaching the worst habits to others. Because, listen, in every crisis, the question eventually becomes moral, not political. Who do we trust when institutions lose their soul? The answer isn't another agency or another committee. It's in consciousness, something Washington can't regulate. Faith was the original firewall against tyranny. When people fear God, they don't fear men. When they forget God, they'll fear anything with a badge. Because Arctic Frost wasn't just about politics. It was about what happens when a nation trades faith for paperwork. Okay, I want to offer a quick thank you for the supporters keeping this broadcast independent. Join the fight for free media at patreon.com/morningreport. Your monthly pledge keeps our lights on and our coverage fearless. We don't have corporate backers. We just have you. We just have you. All right. Folks, after 5 parts, the moral here is plain. Power doesn't corrupt suddenly. It professionalizes slowly. Every form, every audit, every compliance letter, one more link in a chain to look like order. And we, the citizens, mistake paperwork for peace. That's the genius of the system. It makes obedience feel responsible. But freedom is never responsible by design. It's inconvenient, it's loud, it's unpredictable, it's messy. And that's why bureaucracies hate it. And we don't fix this by wishing it away. We fix it by building parallel systems, honest media, transparent banking, accountable politics, and fearless churches. You can't reform a system that rewards corruption. You can only outgrow it. That means stop waiting for permission, create, invest, speak outside their lanes. They can subpoena your bank, but they can't subpoena your backbone. Now, folks, if you've been following this series, you already know. You are the resistance they fear most, not because you're armed, but because you're awake. Because you still believe truth is worth the noise and that freedom is worth the fight. The bureaucrats don't hate your money or your vote as much as they hate your independence. And the best way to win is to live like they can't stop you. Remember, in the 1770s, it wasn't muskets that terrified the British crown. It was pamphlets. In 2025, it's podcasts, small media, fearless citizens connecting without permission. Different tools, same rebellion. And like the pamphleteers of old, you don't need power. What you need is persistence. Arctic Frost may be the swamp's masterpiece, but exposure is ours. Five parts, one truth. Government doesn't need to break the law to break you. It just needs to bury you in it. And the answer isn't despair. It's defiance. The kind that votes, the kind that builds, a time that prays. We don't fix America by running from her. We fix her by outlasting the people who tried to own her. And that's the real frost they fear. Not a scandal, but a thaw, an awakening. All right, my friends, this concludes our series, Arctic Frost Exposed. We've pulled back every layer: money, power, media, and law, and found the same fingerprints on them all. Now you know the playbook. And knowing is how we win. So, folks, please stay informed, stay unafraid, stay loud. Because the moment you go quiet, frost returns. My name is Willie Lawson. This has been the Morning Report. Thank you for watching Arctic Frost Exposed. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sake, take care of yourself. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.